Hey, gentlemen. This last chapter in the truth section is called 10 Steps to Truth. Really trying at the end of each one of these sections to give a very practical chapter, even those practical steps throughout the chapters, of one that really just focuses on what can we do, how can we help each other with this, because so often we read books and we get information, but how can we apply these things through the book? It's very important. Here's a few focus points through this chapter. Number one, this chapter is really all about application of truth. So there's just a lot of simple, practical things that you can do to become a man of truth. Number two, the first two steps that I give there are all about forgiving people and then how to keep your list short once you forgive them. Now, this is a hard thing for a lot of people to do, particularly if there's really a struggle with anger and bitterness. So how can you get forgiven and forgive, but then keep it that way? Number three, the other 8 steps that were given in the 10 Steps to Truth is all about committing our speech to Christ and having a heart of truth. And so presenting a personal defense of being careful of our attitude and our tone, all the way to a solid offense of being an encourager. You see there, we're trying to move from things that are negative about our speech to things that can be positive in our speech, and taking those steps with each one and really taking these steps apart and seeing where we need to apply those. Lastly, Paul's teaching in Ephesians 4:14 through 15 about truth and love is a really critical ending, I think, to understanding this concept of becoming a man of truth. And then we just got to remember that these application chapters are all part of what we talked about at the beginning of belief to actions, of becoming what we believe. How can we be obedient and act those things out and let them actually be a part of not just our beliefs, but who we are? So here's the discussion questions for this final chapter of the truth section of the book of 10 Steps to Truth. Question number 1. Talk about your list of people that you need to forgive and you need to ask for forgiveness. Where do you need help and encouragement from the other guys? Do you need accountability with any of these to make sure you get them done? Do you need specific prayer for any of these situations? Question number 2. Discuss the statement from page 130 and 131. You can measure your maturity level as a Christian by the length of time between the offense and your attempt to resolve. How do you see this being true? Question number 3. How can you work to keep your list short by sharing consistently about anger and resolve in your group? Question number 4. Talk about my personal example that I gave you on pages 131 and 132. Have you had anything like this happen to you before, and how did it end for you? Question number 5. How would adopting principle number 4 as a personal rule for you change some situations in your life, making your yes, yes and your no, no? Question number 6. Do you struggle with attitude and tone in your speech? If you do, talk about that. Question number 7. Is there any circumstance in your life where you are creating a distraction from Christ for someone? And when you get through talking about that, talk about the opposite. Where are you creating an attraction to Christ for someone? Question number 8. Are you being silent somewhere where you really need to speak? Talk about that. Question number 9. Where in your life do you need to be an encourager, or maybe a better encourager? Share and talk about that. Last question, number 10. Where do you need to be more of a proactive listener? Talk about that. Also want to encourage you that at the end of this chapter, where the questions are on page 139, those would actually be really good questions for you to periodically revisit in your group just to talk through.